Look, I need you to picture something for me. You're 35 years old, you're scrolling through Instagram at 11 p.m., and you see your college roommate posting pictures from their second vacation this year. Meanwhile, you're sitting there with $8,000 in your 401k, wondering if you should even bother contributing more or just, I don't know, enjoy your life now while you're still young enough to care. Here's the thing, though, and this is what keeps me up at night. That feeling you're having right now, that anxiety mixed with denial, that's not an accident. That's the result of nobody ever sitting you down and explaining how retirement savings actually works at different stages of your life. And I mean really works, not just save 15% and hope for the best. My name is John, and I spend way too much time thinking about how people are sabotaging their retirement without even realizing it. If you're someone who's ever looked at your retirement account and thought, this number seems bad, or if you've ever wondered whether you're saving too much, too little, or just doing this whole thing completely wrong, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Because today, we're breaking down exactly what you should be doing with your retirement savings at every single age. And I'm not talking about generic advice like start early or compound interest is magic. I'm talking about the specific tactical moves that separate people who retire comfortably from people who are working at 72 because they have to. So here's what most people don't realize. The advice you need at 25 is not just a smaller version of the advice you need at 45. It's fundamentally different. The math is different, the psychology is different, the opportunities are different. And yet, we're out here giving everyone the exact same advice regardless of where they are in life. Let me show you what I mean. According to a 2023 Vanguard study, the median 401k balance for people in their 30s is about $37,000. For people in their 60s, it's around $165,000. Now, you might look at that and think, okay, well, they've had more time to save. Sure. But here's where it gets really interesting. If you run the actual numbers, that 60-year-old should have roughly 15 to 20 times what that 30-year-old has, not 4.5 times. You know what that tells me? It tells me that most people are doing something catastrophically wrong in their 40s and 50s. They're getting the compounding years, the years where your money is supposed to do the heavy lifting, and they're fumbling the bag. And before you think this doesn't apply to you because you're young and you'll figure it out later, or because you're older and it's already too late, stop. Both of those thoughts are wrong, and I'm going to prove it to you. Let's start with your 20s because this is where the most dangerous myths live. Myth number 1, I don't make enough money to save for retirement. Look, I get it. You're making $45,000 a year, you've got student loans, rent is insane, and your friends want to go to brunch every weekend. But here's the thing nobody tells you. Your 20s aren't about the amount you save. They're about the habit you build and the time you buy. Let me give you a concrete example. Sarah is 25 years old. She makes $50,000 a year and contributes just 6% to her 401k. That's $3,000 or $250 a month. Her company matches 3%, so she's really putting away $4,500 annually. She does this for 10 years and then stops completely, never contributes another dollar. Michael is also 25, makes the same amount, but he's focused on paying off debt and living his life. He waits until he's 35 to start saving, but then he gets serious. He contributes 12% for 30 years straight, twice what Sarah did. Who do you think has more money at 65? It's Sarah, and it's not even close. Even though she contributed $45,000 total and Michael contributed $180,000, Sarah ends up with roughly $580,000, while Michael has about $470,000, assuming a 7% annual return, which is conservative for a stock-heavy portfolio. That's the power of time. Your 20s are the most valuable investing years of your entire life, not because you have a lot of money, but because you have a lot of time. Every dollar you invest at 25 is worth approximately $4 more at retirement than a dollar you invest at 45. Now, you might be thinking, okay, John, but what if I can't afford to save anything? Here's my answer. You probably can't afford not to save anything.
At minimum, you need to be capturing your full employer match. That's free money, a 100% immediate return on your investment. If you're not doing that, you're literally turning down a raise. Here's your action plan for your 20s. Step 1, contribute at least enough to get your full employer match. If your company matches 4%, you contribute 4%, non-negotiable. Step 2, if you have high-interest debt, I'm talking credit cards above 7% interest, tackle that aggressively while maintaining your match. Step 3, once you're past the high-interest debt, aim to gradually increase your contribution by 1% every year until you hit 15% total, including employer match. You won't even notice the difference in your paycheck, but your future self will. Step 4, keep it simple. Target date retirement funds are your friend. You're not trying to beat the market, you're trying to capture the market's average return over 40 years. That's more than enough. The psychological shift you need in your 20s, stop thinking about retirement as something distant and start thinking about it as buying your future freedom. You're not saving for when you're old, you're saving so you have options when you're 50, 60, or 70. Now let's talk about your 30s because this is where things get interesting and where most people start making expensive mistakes.
By your 30s, a few things have probably changed. Maybe you're making more money, maybe you've gotten married, bought a house, had kids, and here's what happens. Your expenses explode. Daycare costs $1,500 a month, your mortgage is $2,500, your car payment is $450, and suddenly retirement savings feels like a luxury you can't afford. This is the trap. Your 30s are not the time to ease up on retirement savings. They're the time to accelerate. Here's why. First, you likely got some raises in your late 20s and early 30s. According to PayScale data, the average person sees their salary increase by about 30 to 40% between 25 and 35. That's your window to increase your savings rate without feeling it. Second, you're entering your prime compounding years. Money you invest in your 30s has 25 to 30 years to grow. That's long enough for serious compound growth, but not so long that you can be reckless. Here's a shocking statistic from Fidelity. The average person should have approximately 1 times their annual salary saved by age 30 and 3 times their salary saved by age 40. So if you're making $75,000 at 35, you should have somewhere between $75,000 and $225,000 saved. Do you? If not, don't panic, but do pay attention. Let me show you the math on why your 30s matter so much. Meet Jennifer. She's 30, makes $70,000 a year, and has $50,000 saved. She's a bit behind the one-time salary benchmark, but not terrible. She commits to saving 15% of her income for the next 10 years. At 40, assuming her salary grows with inflation at 3% annually and her investments return 7% per year, she'll have approximately $260,000 saved. That puts her right on track for the 3-time salary benchmark. But here's where it gets really interesting. If Jennifer then continues saving 15% from 40 to 65, she'll retire with about $1.4 million. But if she takes her foot off the gas in her 40s and drops to 10%, she'll retire with only about $1.1 million. That's $300,000 left on the table because she eased up during 1 decade. The mistake I see constantly in people's 30s is lifestyle creep. You get a $10,000 raise, and instead of banking $5,000 of it into retirement, you upgrade your apartment, lease a nicer car, start shopping at Whole Foods instead of Trader Joe's. And look, I'm not saying you can't enjoy the fruits of your labor, but here's the thing. Every permanent lifestyle upgrade you make locks in a higher expense floor for the rest of your life. Here's your action plan for your 30s. Step 1. Benchmark yourself. Calculate what 1 to 3 times your salary looks like. Are you on track? Behind? Ahead? You need to know where you stand. Step 2. Implement the raise rule. Every time you get a raise, immediately increase your retirement contribution by at least half of that raise before you ever see it in your paycheck. If you get a 4% raise, increase your 401k contribution by 2%. Step 3. Max out your IRA. In 2025, that's $7,000 per year, $583 per month. If you're married, that's $14,000 between you and your spouse. This should be your goal if you're making $75,000 or more.
Step 4. Get strategic about accounts. Traditional 401k versus Roth 401k, traditional IRA versus Roth IRA. These decisions actually matter now because you're likely in a higher tax bracket. General rule, if you're in the 24% federal tax bracket or higher, traditional contributions probably make sense. If you're in the 22% bracket or lower, consider Roth. The psychological shift you need in your 30s. Your lifestyle today is not your identity. The fancy apartment, the new car, the expensive hobbies, these things are not you. You know what gives you actual identity and freedom? Having enough money that you can't be pushed around by an employer, a medical bill, or an economic downturn. That's what you're building. Okay, let's talk about your 40s. And I'm just going to say it. This is the decade that determines whether you're going to be okay or not. This is it. This is where winners and losers are decided. Here's what's happening in your 40s. You're probably in your peak earning years. According to Bureau of Labor Statistics, median income peaks for most people between 45 and 54. You're making the most money you've ever made. Your kids might be getting older, so childcare costs are dropping. You've figured out your career, you're experienced. And yet, this is the decade where I see the most people completely screw up their retirement. Why? Because of something I call the myth of catching up later. People hit 40, they look at their retirement account, they see a number that seems smallish, and they think, I'll just work a few extra years, or I'll save more in my 50s, or my house is an investment. No, that's not how this works. Let me show you the math on why your 40s matter so much. David is 40 years old with $100,000 saved. He's slightly below the 3-time salary benchmark if he makes $75,000, but not disastrously so. He has two choices. Choice A, save 15% of his income from 40 to 65. Choice B, save 10% from 40 to 50, then panic and save 25% from 50 to 65. Which one do you think results in more money at retirement? It's choice A, and by a lot. Choice A gets him to about $1.35 million at 65. Choice B, only about $1.15 million. Even though he saved more aggressively later, he can't make up for the compound growth he missed. Now, here's the really frustrating part. Your 40s are also when life gets most expensive in sneaky ways. College savings for your kids, aging parents who might need help, home repairs on that house you bought in your 30s, medical expenses start creeping up, and it's so easy to let retirement savings slip. According to a 2024 report from the National Institute on Retirement Security, nearly 40% of people in their 40s have less than $50,000 saved for retirement. Less than $50,000 at the age where you should have 3 to 6 times your salary saved. Do you understand how catastrophic that is? That's not, I'll work a few extra years territory. That's, I might never be able to retire territory. Here's your action plan for your 40s. Step 1. Do a brutal assessment. By 45, you should have roughly 4 times your annual salary saved. By 50, it should be 6 times. Where are you actually? Step 2. If you're behind, and statistically there's a good chance you are, you need to make serious changes right now. This might mean downsizing your house, driving your car for another 5 years, cutting discretionary spending, or getting a side income. I know that's not what you want to hear, but math doesn't care about your feelings. Step 3. Max out your 401k if you possibly can. In 2025, that's $23,500 per year. If you're married and both working, that's $47,000 per year. Can you do that on $150,000 of household income? It's difficult, but it's possible if you're serious. Step 4. Start using catch-up contributions if you're 50 or older. The IRS lets you contribute an extra $7,500 to your 401k and an extra $1,000 to your IRA. Use it. Step 5. Get aggressive about increasing your income. You're in your peak earning years. This is the time to negotiate raises, switch jobs for more money, or develop additional income streams. Every extra $10,000 you make and save in your 40s is worth $40,000 to $50,000 at retirement. The psychological shift you need in your 40s. This is not a dress rehearsal. You don't get to do your 40s over. Every month you tell yourself, I'll start saving more next year, is a month of compound growth you're giving away forever. Retirement isn't some abstract concept anymore. It's a real thing that's going to happen in 20 years, and the decisions you make right now directly determine what those years look like. Let's talk about your 50s and early 60s, because the game completely changes here. If you've done things right up until now, your 50s should actually be relatively calm. You're in your peak earning years, your expenses might be dropping as kids leave the house, and you're watching your nest egg grow into something that actually looks like retirement money. But if you haven't done things right, your 50s are going to be stressful, really stressful. Here's the reality. By 60, you should have approximately 8 times your annual salary saved. So if you're making $100,000 at 60, you should have around $800,000 in retirement accounts. According to Fidelity's research, that gets you to roughly 10 times your salary by 67, which is what you need to maintain your lifestyle in retirement. Now you might be thinking, 10 times my salary? That seems like so much money. But here's the thing, it's not. The 4% rule, which is a guideline that says you can safely withdraw 4% of your retirement savings per year, means that if you have $1 million saved, you can safely take out about $40,000 per year. Add Social Security, and maybe you're at $60,000 to $70,000 per year in retirement. If you were making $100,000 before retirement, that's a significant lifestyle adjustment. And that's if everything goes according to plan. No major medical expenses, no market crashes right before you retire, no need to help out adult children or aging parents. Let me tell you about the biggest mistake I see people make in their 50s. They start getting conservative too early. They see their account balance, maybe it's $400,000, maybe it's $600,000, and they think, I can't afford to lose this in a market crash. I'm going to move everything to bonds. Look, I understand the fear, but here's the thing. If you're 55 years old, you potentially have 30 to 35 years left to live. You're not preserving money for 5 years, you're preserving it for 30 decades. You still need growth. A Vanguard study found that people who shifted too heavily into bonds in their 50s and 60s actually increased their risk of running out of money in retirement because their portfolios didn't grow enough to keep pace with inflation and longevity. Here's your action plan for your 50s and early 60s. Step 1. Max everything. Your 401k with catch-up contributions, $31,000 in 2025. Your IRA with catch-up contributions, $8,000 in 2025. And if you have access to an HSA and you're eligible, max that too. $8,750 for family coverage in 2025, plus a $1,000 catch-up contribution if you're 55 plus. If you're married, double all those numbers. Step 2. Run the actual retirement numbers, not a vague guess, but actual calculations. Use retirement calculators that account for Social Security, inflation, healthcare costs, and longevity. You need to know if you're on track or if you need to make adjustments. Step 3. Don't get too conservative with your investments too early. A reasonable asset allocation at 55 might be 60 to 70% stocks, 30 to 40% bonds. At 65, maybe 50 to 60% stocks. You still need growth. Step 4. Create a retirement income plan. How much will come from Social Security? When will you claim it? Hint, delaying from 62 to 70 increases your benefit by about 76%. That's huge. How much will you withdraw from retirement accounts? What's your tax strategy? Step 5. Consider working longer, but strategically. Working from 65 to 67 accomplishes 3 things: 2 more years of savings, 2 more years of compound growth, and 2 fewer years of withdrawals. That can increase your retirement security by 20 to 30%. But here's the key. You want to work longer by choice, not because you have to. That means making the decision in your 50s, not scrambling in your 60s. The psychological shift you need in your 50s and 60s. Retirement is no longer this distant concept. It's real. It's coming, and the decisions you make now have immediate consequences. This is also the time to shift from thinking about accumulation to thinking about preservation and income. You're not trying to hit a home run anymore. You're trying to protect what you've built and make sure it lasts. Okay, here's the harsh truth that nobody wants to say out loud. Most people are not going to have enough money to retire comfortably. According to the Economic Policy Institute, the median retirement account balance for people aged 56 to 61 is about $185,000. That's not 10 times their salary. That's not 8 times. For most people, it's maybe 2 to 3 times their salary.
You know what that means? It means working longer. It means dramatically reducing lifestyle and retirement. It means depending on Social Security, which, by the way, only replaces about 40% of pre-retirement income for average earners. It means financial stress during years that are supposed to be relaxing and enjoyable. And here's what makes me frustrated. This is preventable. For most people, this is completely preventable. It's not because they didn't make enough money. The median household income in the U.S. is about $75,000. That's enough to save for retirement if you're intentional about it. The problem is priority and discipline. The problem is we prioritize the new car over the 401k contribution. We prioritize the bigger house over the IRA. We prioritize looking successful now over being successful later. And I get it. I really do. There's this tension between living your life now and preparing for a future that might be decades away. But here's what I want you to understand. Saving for retirement isn't about deprivation. It's about freedom. You know what freedom looks like? It's being 55 years old and having a terrible boss, and instead of gritting your teeth and taking it because you need the paycheck, you can walk away because you have options. It's being 62 and choosing to retire not because you're burned out, but because you want to travel, spend time with grandkids, or pursue hobbies. Freedom is having enough money that you can't be pushed around by circumstances. So here's what I want you to do after you finish watching this video. First, calculate where you actually are. Find all your retirement accounts, 401ks from current and previous employers, IRAs, everything. Add them up. Compare that number to the benchmarks I gave you. 1 times salary by 30, 3 times by 40, 6 times by 50, 8 times by 60, 10 times by 67. Second, if you're behind, don't spiral, don't panic, but do take immediate action. Increase your contribution percentage today, not next month, not next year. Log into your 401k account right now and increase it by at least 2%, even if you're already contributing. You'll adjust to the smaller paycheck faster than you think. Third, automate everything. Set up automatic contribution increases, set up automatic IRA contributions. The best way to save is to never see the money in the first place. Fourth, educate yourself. Read about investing. Understand the difference between stocks and bonds, active and passive investing, traditional and Roth accounts. You don't need to become an expert, but you need to understand the basics of where your money is going and why. Fifth, reassess every year. Your income changes, your expenses change, your goals change. Review your retirement savings every single year and adjust accordingly. And look, here's the thing. Some of you watching this are 25 and you're thinking, I have so much time, I'll get to it eventually. You don't. Every year you wait costs you thousands, tens of thousands, potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars in lost compound growth. Some of you are 45 and you're thinking, I'm too far behind, it's hopeless. It's not. It's going to require sacrifice and discipline, but it's absolutely possible to catch up if you're willing to make serious changes now. And some of you are 60, thinking this video doesn't apply to me, it's too late. You're wrong. You potentially have 25 to 30 years left. That's enough time for significant growth, and every dollar you save now is a dollar you don't have to worry about later. Here's what I want you to remember. Retirement savings isn't about being perfect. It's about being consistent. It's about making better decisions today than you made yesterday. It's about recognizing that your future self is depending on your current self to make smart choices. The best time to start saving for retirement was 20 years ago. The second best time is right now. If this video helped you, make sure you give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and drop a comment letting me know where you are in your retirement savings journey. Are you on track? Behind? Ahead? What's your biggest challenge? I read every comment, and your questions help me figure out what to make videos about next. And remember, the goal isn't to have the most money. The goal is to have enough money that you don't have to think about money. That's freedom. That's what we're building here. I'll see you in the next one.